Hi, it's Jackie here with the LGFA, and we're on a call today, our preview show, our weekly preview review show, and it's a one-to-one session this week with myself and Caoimhe Morgan. Caoimhe Marley Morgan, the Armagh legend, who's also involved with the Fermanagh setup as well, alongside James Daly, who was your former inter-county manager with Armagh as well, Caoimhe. So we'll get into some of that chat. We'd normally have more participants on the show, but some of them are unavailable for various reasons today. So I said, well, look, we're going to crack on and we're going to have a look back at some of your good moments throughout your career as well, a 20-year career. Caoimhe, let's start with that, right? So 20 years in the colours of Armagh is one hell of a stint by any manner of means. And when it came, it just struck me when we were chatting off air before we started recording that yourself and Michelle Ryan from Waterford, you retired around the same time. And you were explaining how that gave you some comfort and solace that the two of you were able to bounce stuff off each other, because I would imagine stepping away from something you've been so ingrained in for 20 years was quite a difficult thing for you.
Yeah, very, very, very difficult. And Michelle and I often talk about the fact that we were grateful for COVID in many ways, in terms of our sporting careers. I'm not too sure what we were doing around that time, but there was some LGFA thing we were involved in. And the two of us really got talking an awful lot about it. And I think we were a great comfort to each other. Michelle and I would have marked each other playing in our playing days, both interprovincials and playing against her with Waterford. So we knew each other pretty well on the field of play, but it was absolutely fantastic to get to know her then as a person. And we had so much in common. She's a teacher, I'm a teacher. And we talked about our families and just how it made us feel, because as you say, it was everything in my life for 20 years or more, and it's still a big part of my life. And I think it was a lot harder for me because my three sisters still play. And that was our bonding time together. You go to training together, you play together. It was the time that we got to catch up, and that was hard. That was like, it's a wee bit like a death. I know people might think, oh, it's a bit exaggeration, but when you give so much of your life to something and it's not there anymore, that's why I say I was very grateful for COVID, because kind of everybody retired with me for a little while anyway, until I could maybe make my peace with it.
Yeah, well, back in the day when I was a much younger man, Cleve, I studied sports psychology in Waterford IT. I have a master's in sports psychology, and we touched on player retirements and going through the whole grief model and the various stages of grief when a player retires. And in fact, some players in really brutal contact sports, for example, American football and rugby, they suffer massive psychological fallout from retirement because they were actually addicted to the big collisions and the big hits, and there can be some catastrophic consequences from that. You mentioned too, and you've touched on it there, like Michelle had sisters that played alongside her. You have sisters that played alongside her. Yourself and Michelle have so much in common. Your careers spanned the same period of time pretty much. So to have her there must have been really, really good, and vice versa when you made that call.
Yeah, it really was. It's fantastic. And now I would class ourselves as good friends now. We would chat, and if we need anything, we've got each other to lean on, or you just want to bounce an idea off or whatever. But it's really important to have people to talk to. And I can think of other friends of mine from Armagh that kind of retired, the likes of Sharon Reel and Maria Tennyson, and there's other players there that I've been very close to, and I feel it was important that we had each other and you could talk to each other. And I do think it's maybe a wee element that we could work on in the LGFA, like maybe, I don't know, it must sound silly, like a support group, but I do think you need it, because it's a massive part of your life, and when it's not there anymore, it can be quite depressing. Yeah,
right. Very honest. Just to touch on your inter-county career, obviously there was some, the potted history of it would have been, I would think back to the 05 junior success and getting to a senior final a year later, the highs and lows through the years. Caoimhe, what stands out for you when you look back on those times in the county shirt?
I suppose when in 1999, when I got a phone call from the then chairman, Brian Meehan, and to say, look, Armagh can't field a team to play Sligo in the National League relegation match. Could you please come and strip out for us? And I was like, oh my God. Number one, wow, can't believe this. And number two, God, this is, I can't believe a county team would probably be in this state. But I took my opportunity and met some really good people there. got on the bus knowing nobody and came back thinking, oh my gosh, this is something I really want to be a part of. So at that stage, I suppose it was kind of a building blocks for Armagh, and there were more senior members there, like the late Maura McArdle, who gave an awful lot of service to Armagh, and she would have talked to me on the bus trying to find out who I was, what your pedigree was, you know, are you going to be one of these ones that maybe could help change the tide? So we were playing then minors. There was the likes of myself, Caroline O'Hanlon, Maria Tennyson, Mags McAlinton, that kind of new generation. And it wasn't until I talked to Maura then years later that she said she knew something special was going to happen in Armagh, because we had this crop of players coming through that had the right attitude, kind of the same attitude that she would have had, and a few more like her, but just not enough. So that kind of started it all for me. I suppose it was when my father kind of took on managing Armagh ladies, couldn't get a manager, and he saw the love that I kind of had for it, and he then brought in a whole new regime because he had been a county player with Armagh himself. He knew what was expected, and he turned the tide on all of it. There was no excuses for not going to training. Girls were afraid to phone the house to tell daddy why they couldn't come. It really was then a more professional setup. We got track suits, you know, we got food. It was wow. That was, yeah. So that kind of turned the tide. And then I suppose after daddy left, the next kind of portion of greatness would have been when the two girls came, Jackie and Haley and Lorraine McCaffrey in there as well. And they just stepped it up in terms of professionalism, because you had Jackie who had played for Down and Haley who played for Tyrone, and Lorraine was heavily involved. And, you know, so they really brought a sense of professionalism that we had never seen before. We had quality players for Armagh. And like, as I said, funny, I talked to James about this on Tuesday night. There was a person competing in every line. So in the full back line, there was someone nipping at your heels. In the half back line, midfield, half forward, the full forward line, and goals. So I think that's really important. If you can establish that in a team where there's someone always competing, look in your slot, you're always on your toes, you're always going to be at training, you're always going to be doing that extra bit and more. So that era was a fantastic time. I really enjoyed that. I suppose because I was playing probably my best football, and I wanted to go to training and I wanted to showcase, you know, just how good you could be. And I was playing against some of the best players in Armagh. Like, you know, Patricia McAvoy taught me so much. You know, playing the full forward line, you know, she'd be skinning me at times, and then she'd be coming back to coach me about how to avoid that and things. So yeah, I was very lucky with the people that I had along the way coaching me personally. And then Armagh went from strength to strength. Like, I mean, we won Ulster Junior, won the All-Ireland in 2005, and then it was just like we could go anywhere. And during that time we were playing junior, there was no intermediate, and it was very smart because Jackie and Haley had us playing senior teams, you know, in preparation in junior, you know, so we were always being pushed that wee bit further. And when we got into the senior ranks, it was kind of like, do you know what, we've played some of these teams before, we actually could probably compete here. So there was a great attitude, a great belief. We had the O'Donnells, you know, we had inspirational players to look up to. It was a very special time in Armagh. And then winning a senior Ulster, and then going, I suppose it's a wee bit like me, coming from an intermediate All-Ireland final to playing a senior All-Ireland final. And we played against that great Cork team many times. And, you know, I have great friends from that era as well.
Yeah, can I ask you a question that might sound a little unfair for you when you consider the great teams that you played on? But so you reached an All-Ireland in 2006, but then in later years you were really close to, you know, contesting semi-finals and with exceptional teams. Was there one group that you felt, God, we really missed the boat there, we should have won that senior All-Ireland with that group? Or what was the case that maybe there was a step that you just couldn't take? But when you look back on it, is there any regret, or were you happy with your lot?
I suppose when you look at it overall, you know, personally, I have to be happy. You have to be happy with your lot. But there are times when I play things over in my mind personally, because, you know, I can only control what I can do. So as a player, you know, Maria Tennis and I talk about this a lot, and we used to be really annoyed about maybe people that wouldn't come to training and get bogged down and things like that. And then we decided, look, we can control us, you know, and if we do the right things, that will impart on other people. Hopefully they'll row in behind us. The best team I probably played on would definitely have been that 2006 team. I believe we were a really well-rounded team, and I think what we had more so was trust. We really trusted each other, and I think that's a massive thing. If you can get that in a team, and you can't manufacture it. It has to grow with a body of people, and you know, you can say you can do all these team building things and you can try, but it really just, it comes naturally over a period of time. But I would also say the 2014 team that I played on as well. There was a good mix of young and old, and we won an Ulster title then, which I didn't think we would win. You know, you had the likes of people at that time. I remember playing that Ulster final. We're all talking about Kelly Mall, and she's the one to watch. And we had a sneaky Amy Mackin up our sleeve. So, you know, and we had the likes of Lauren McConville and Aoife McCoy, and, you know, my sister Neve, and great players, Maria Tennyson. Like, I believe there was 2 eras there for me where I played on great teams, and I was very lucky for that. Regrets do I have? I regret getting sin binned in the All-Ireland final. 1-2 was scored that day when I was off the pitch, and like, I was not in a great way after that match, to be fair. And I had great players. I'll never forget, like Sean O'Hagan singing to me, Tina Turner, on the bus to try and up my spirits. And, you know, there's times where people just come to the fore. You know, we're real friends when you need them. And yeah, like, I have a few wee regrets, but they're outweighed by the fantastic friends and the career that I have had, and I've been so blessed to wear that orange jersey. Like,
absolutely. And when you look at the current crop, and you mentioned some names there, Aoife McCoy, your sister Amy, obviously, as well. You know, they're still here and they're still very much involved. How do you rate this current crop now, Caoimhe? I mean, they're obviously top of their group. They're through to a quarter final. They'll have a home quarter final, which should count for something. You win that, potentially you're in the last four. Momentum grows. I mean, I always think if Armagh could get to Croke Park for an All-Ireland senior final, I think that the following that would come would be tremendous. How close are they, or how far do you think this group can go? Because, you know, I suppose from my own point of view, from the outside looking into a 100% extent, I see a lot of talent there, and a team that could go a long way.
Yeah, like, match by match, they never cease to surprise me, you know, sometimes in a good way and sometimes not in a good way. I know the massive potential that there is there, and I know lots of people do. And it's just getting it all to click on the right day and the right stage. Like, playing Mayo there at the weekend was a massive match for them, and it was what I would call like a tentative performance from Armagh. You know, the Leash game in some respects was maybe a given, and we all kind of thought they'd win that match anyway. And I think the Mayo game, you could see it at the end of the match how much it meant to them, because I believe that was their bounce back from the Ulster final defeat. And although maybe it wasn't a pretty performance from Armagh, there's times in the past where I have seen Armagh, you know, lose games like that because they just couldn't claw it back, and, you know, they couldn't dig deep to win a game like that where it was in the melting pot at that time. So I think there's a lot of wee things coming together for Armagh right now, you know. And I mean, if an Ulster final defeat means an All-Ireland appearance or a win, you'd take it any day. And sometimes it's the path that you're following. So, you know, I believe that Mayo match will stand them in really good stead. And I think they are a team that can compete with the big teams. And I believe it's really wide open as well. And, you know, when you talk about the players of the quality that they have, you know, like, and I know people know me, don't know that I don't give much praise to my own, but, like, you know, Neve there came on the match and she made a massive fetch, you know, a catch that a lot of other people wouldn't make. Ultimately, that resulted in a free into Amy and the penalty. You know, that they have quality players. You've Lauren McConville playing at 6, who could play 6, 10, 12, or a cornerback marking position. You know, she is so versatile. She's really grown in confidence and experience. She's a great leader. It's nice to see the likes of even Neve Reel coming to the fore more now, and she's standing up and just really taking, you know, games by the scruff of the neck. You know, you have Kelly Mall there, who shows great leadership. She's solid on a free kick. You know, it's a given point at any time. You know, they have a great bunch of players. I would love it for them, because I see the effort that they put in. You know, I see, you know, in my own household, you know, what the girls put in and how much they give to it. And it's great to see, because when you leave Armagh, you leave the jersey, you just want it to be in a better state, you know, than when you first found it. And I can say hand on heart that the work that's being done in Armagh is second to none. And I believe that all the people deserve for them to do well. And I believe they have the potential to do it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A real force of nature with Sinead Reel as chairperson there as well, I have to say. Even now, I'm conscious of your time, right? Because you're taking Dara to a birthday party as well, right? So I'm not going to hold you too much longer. So just to finish up on Armagh for now, are they a kind of a momentum team? Like, would you prefer if they'd been playing this coming weekend, or are you happier now that they've played their 2 matches and they're through, but now they have a little bit of a way to a quarter final? Would you prefer maybe a shorter gap between final round game and quarter-final? Or are you happy enough now that they've done what they had to do in the group, and now they can regroup, wait and see what the draw holds on Saturday, and then look forward? Where are you at with that question?
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with that, because I would prefer to have been Armagh playing the weekends that they have played rather than having been Mayo there and having a 7-week layoff. So I think it's perfect for Armagh. I think this is, and I talk about, as I said, there's a certain pathway. Sometimes you can be lucky enough to get a good one, and I think Armagh are on a good pathway. They're happy with their win, maybe not 100% happy with their performance, but you always want things that you can work on, and that's there, definitely things to work on. But I believe, yes, they're in a good place, and they'll regroup and get together, do their video analysis, and work then on another big performance and a home draw for a quarter-final. Like that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, absolutely. So to come this weekend, Caoimhe, we have, as Armagh can sit back and relax and see if it's either Mayo or Leash who come through and join them in the quarterfinals. So look, again, still conscious of your time, Caoimhe. Mayo versus Leash, who do you think will emerge from this one to go through in second place out of Group 1?
I think Mayo will emerge. They did put up a good performance against Armagh. They'll rue their wides. They had most possession. They'll just have to combat that defensive style of Leash, which kind of Armagh played a wee bit as well. So I think Mayo will come out. Okay.
Group 2 is Meath and Donegal. Both teams are already safely through, but of course the carrot for the winners is a home quarter-final. How do you see this one? Meath against Donegal.
This is like, I have circled my winners for the weekend. On this one, I can't. I don't know. Like, a home advantage is a massive thing. So it's great that is up for grabs, because people aren't just playing for the sake of playing or just messing about. So, the two of them will play a very similar style of football. It might be a very low-scoring match. It'll be very defensive. I watched Meath at the weekend. They weren't setting the world alight, but they're just doing what they had to do. I think, there's a couple of big performances needed from like the likes of Vicky Wall. Emma Duggan playing at wing half back is maybe, not what Meath would really want. She doesn't have the legs then when she gets up for the shooting power. Some of their free taking, I don't know. I'm maybe going to back Donegal in it.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah.
And then in Group 3, we have
Nadine Coyle to be happy with me about that.
We'll get back to that one in the next show. God above. So for people that missed it, right, I called Nadine Doherty on an Instagram post, Nadine Coyle. Now, where I got that one from, I have no idea. But anyway, apologies to Nadine if she's watching. It was, I must have had Siobhan Coyle in my brain or something like that, because the last time Nadine Coyle was on my brain was back in the days of Girls Aloud, and that was a long time ago. But we'll move swiftly along from that one. In Group 3, we have Kerry versus Cavan. So Kerry beat Dublin last time out. Dublin beat Cavan pretty comprehensively last time out as well. You would probably expect a Kerry win here, yeah?
Yeah, definitely going with that one, yeah.
Okay.
I can't see Cavan having enough to put it up to them, no.
Okay, and then in Group 4, it's another straight shootout between Cork and Tipperary to see who goes through alongside table toppers Galway. They met in the Munster Championship, just 3 points separated them on that occasion. Aisling Maloney, I think, scored 112 that day. They're heavily reliant on her. Who's going to win this?
Look, I'm going to say Cork, and it's probably because of, their past, really, that I'm tipping them there. If they get their matchups right, Cork, and they do take Maloney out of the game, I mean, as you say, I'm not saying Tipperary don't have anything else to do, but she is the person they look to all the time. And sometimes if you can shut one player down, there may not be much else there. So I'm going to go with Cork.
Okay. And very briefly, onto the Junior Championship. You're obviously involved with Fermanagh. You welcome London at the weekend on Saturday. London had a good win first time out. You guys had a good win first time out. You could both still emerge as semi-finalists from this group, which also contains Carlow and Derry. So look, the winners here on Saturday will take a massive step towards the knockout phase. It's a big game.
Yeah, it's a massive game for us. And I mean, we don't take London lightly. They are a team that, are very well prepared. They have some quality players. It'll be up to us to get our matchups right. And it's always difficult playing London because, as I said before, they don't have anything really to lose. They're out to showcase the fact that they're the best of the British and they want to be able to put up a really good performance. So, you know, they're going to come out all guns blazing. We play them at home in Donegal, pitch that we like very well. And I mean, look, it'll be up to us to bring a really good performance because I wouldn't like them to get a foothold in the game. But I believe that we have enough done and that we should get over the line yet.
Okay, and then in Group A, it's Down against Kilkenny. You would anticipate a Down victory there, as you know, Kilkenny still in very much a rebuilding phase and a lot of work going on there as they look to lay down some foundations for the future. Limerick versus Sligo could be an interesting game, Caoimhe.
Yeah, I've starred that one. I don't know. And I'd be looking very keenly at that because, you know, that'll be the other side of the draw for maybe, hopefully, you know, what we would be looking at for semi-final contenders. Look, I'm going to say Limerick on their form from last year, and they have very good sharpshooters in there. But look, Sligo could cause an upset. I'm not saying that they won't, but I'd tip Limerick for it. Okay,
so if Limerick and Down both win their matches, they're both through before the final round of games. So that could be done and dusted at the weekend. Whereas in Group B, because Fermanagh are playing London, there will still be a round to go after that. So everything won't be completely decided on that one. But just to wrap up, we have a final question. Obviously, yourself and James go back a long way. How does the relationship change then when, you know, manager coach or manager player to manager coach backroom member? Are you still as tight as ever? Like, is there constructive criticism that you can offer each other? What's the dynamic there in terms of how you guys operate?
Well, when James had asked me to come on board with him, you know, he had said to me things like, Keith, I don't want you agreeing with me. You know, I want you to be the coach. I want you to, you know, challenge me. And I suppose, like, I've learned so much from him. It's a total different dynamic from being a player, although he does shout at me sometimes, like he would have when I was a player. And a lot of people will know and understand that. But look, everything James does, he does for the team at heart. He would do anything for his players. And I knew that when I played under him. And he's very, very good as a manager, coaching me as a coach, or maybe someday as a manager. And I think that's what he sees in his sights. But we have a really good working relationship. He's always on the end of the phone. You know, we're always back and forth to each other. It's definitely a different relationship than being a player under him. But I'm very grateful to him. He's taught me so much along the way, things to do, things not to do. Yeah, and like, it is a different relationship, but it's a good working relationship.
Good. I wish you well for the remainder of the season, Cavan. We'll have you back on in the coming weeks as well as we reach the concluding stages of the championships. So the picture will become a little bit more clear this weekend. The senior quarter-final draw, just so that people know, will be live on TG4 after Meath against Donegal on Saturday evening, and then we turn our attentions to 3 of the junior games on Sunday after Fermanagh play London on Saturday. Caoimhe Marley Morgan, nice to kind of get back into you know, a little bit more detailed chat and look back over your career as well. We might spend a bit more time on that as well in a future show. But for now, go and get your boy off to where he needs to get to, and we'll be in touch again real soon. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.